Hi, welcome back everyone. Thank you for joining us at e-KLESF 2022. My name is Shizal from University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Utah. We are presenting a webinar titled Relevancy of Animation in the Industry by Mr. Muhammad Abid Shahsafwan bin Muhammad Taib. Mr. Abid is a lecturer at the Department of Strategic Communication, Faculty of Communication and Center and Creative Industries, Tunku Abdul Rahman University of Management and Technology. Just a little housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. We will bring them up during the Q&A session at the end of this webinar. All participants, please sign in your attendance in the link posted in the chat box. Now, without further delay, let us turn the time over to Mr. Adib Safwan.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Shazar, right? Can I turn on my camera? So the photo, is it now or later?
You can do that.
Oh, I mean the photo.
You want to share? Oh,
No,
the
I mean
photo
taking a group photo, is it now or at the end of the session?
at the end of the session
Okay.
after your Q&A.
Oh, okay. All right, sure. Okay, so let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, it's loading. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, clear.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so a very good afternoon to all my wonderful and respectful participants. And first of all, I would like to express my deepest thanks to the organizer for inviting me as part of the webinar. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate this opportunity. So today's topic I'll be talking about is called the relevancy of animation in the industry. All right. So the reason why I decided to make this topic is because I assume that many people think that animation is all about making cartoons or making those spectacular films that you see in the cinema and also gaming as well. However, animation is more than that. The usage of animation has been implemented in many areas, and I decided to share this topic to everyone, how important having animation in the industry. So before knowing the significant value of animation, we need to know the meaning or the definition of animation. According to the Britannica Dictionary, it means the art of making inanimate objects appear to move. So the main term for this animation is not the object, but it's the motion. So wherever you see a visual character, an image, or a graphical icon, or anything that you see visual and has some motion to it, that's what you call animation. On the other hand, according to the Arts and Entertainment Masterclass, it defines animation as the process of bringing illustrations or inanimate objects to life through motion pictures. A really good example that I can share with you is, for example, you are someone that likes to draw your favorite character. So you use your pencil or your pen to draw on a piece of paper, but you want your character to move. So that's when you use your imagination and your creativity skill to convert what you have drawn on a piece of paper into a character that has a life into it. So technically here, that's when the animation comes in. Last but not least, animation can also be considered as an art form that use drawing, images, and motion to create a story or image. Uh, a good example, for example, like you already create a character and it's already have motion, but at the same time, you want your character to have some story into it. So when you're able to deliver a story based on the character that you draw. That's what you call animation as well. But this definition is under the definition of filmmaking. So like animation, it has many definitions depending on what purpose you are dealing with. But the most important term for animation is about the term motion, movement, right? Pergerakan, right? All right, so that is animation. So now we have to go to the next part, which is the types of animation. So types of animation is really essential for artists to know. But of course, the audience, the the viewers must also know what are the types of animation. So we have traditional animation, we have 2D animation, we have 3D, stop motion, and last but not least, motion graphics. So I'm going to explain one by one what are they and how relevant are they in the industry. So if you want to know more about the traditional animation, it was back in the old days. Traditional animation was implemented around early 1900s, around 1900s, something around that year, and it was known as cell animation. So the oldest form of animation where you hand drawn on paper and then we trace it back on a transparent sheet. So if you look closely at the GIF that I demonstrate here in my slide, you can see the person is flipping many pages to ensure the movement is is consistent or is in organized manner. So when they start to draw on a piece of paper, then they retrace it back on a transparent sheet using the proper pen, and then they color it with all the painting and other essential painting materials. So once you have done with all those coloring section, that's when you can see the outcome just like what you see here in the Lion King. So the Lion King, which was introduced, I believe was introduced in around 1990s that time. During those time, traditional animation was quite dominant. So a lot of animation studios, not just in Malaysia, but also outside Malaysia as well, tend to use this technique to produce those cartoon shows that we watch on TV. And most of them use traditional animation. And with the rise of technology uh, passing by, that's when traditional animation has evolved into 2D animation. So 2D animation is technically having your original skill coming from traditional drawing, and because of the technology has been improvised dramatically, and several companies and people or we call it as innovators tend to create software specifically for animation, especially for 2D, for example, animation as it is created in motion within a 2D space, two-dimensional space, and the advancement of animation software have made 2D animation highly accessible and popular choice for artists. So, for example, if you look at the GIF here, I'm a huge kid. So, and because of the software during that time was launched and was introduced, that's when many artists tend to play around and explore what they can improvise their animation. And that's when 2D animation becomes a big hit. And not just Pokemon, I believe there are many cartoon shows that use 2D form do cartoons, right? And also with the Simpson, all right, I believe the Simpson, some of us know the TV show, the cartoon show, and of course there are many industries that have accomplished back in 1990s. Now 3D animation is still happening, regardless of using the old software or the new software, right? People still use the software to produce those 2D animation. And until now, myself as an older person, during my break, enjoy watching 2D animation on Netflix and also any kind of websites that give me the capability to enjoy this 2D animation series. And then after that, the next one is 3D animation, 3D images to environment, 3D as real objects look like. So 3D animation is the great thing of 3D animation is that it allows artists to maneuver or able to experience how the characters, how the object move in 3D environmental space. So basically, artists able to see everything or every angle of the particular object or character. So this is another great thing of 3D animation. And 3D animation, of course, is not just about in filmmaking, but also for visual effects and CGI as well. So 3D animation has been dominating the industry for many years, and now it's part of the film industry where many studios out there really need to use 3D animation to produce those outstanding and attractive visual effects and those CGI elements to make that realistic kind of film. And also, rather than using an actual object or person or animal, using 3D is the best choice. So let's say, for example, like let's say the TV show Games of Thrones, GOT, Games of Thrones, right? You see all those really cool dragons. So of course, in real life, we don't have dragons. So they use 3D animation for that particular dragon and blend together with the show and to make it that realistic kind of storyline about Game of Thrones. So, like I said, 3D animation is really big, and I believe until now, many companies out there, including agencies and studios and also other companies also use 3D animation for the benefit of promoting their services and also products as well. So 3D animation has a lot of benefits to it. Next one here is a little bit challenging, which is stop motion. All right, so stop motion here, as you may know that stop motion, it is achieved by capturing one frame at a time using physical objects or props that are moved between frames. Once done, an illusion of movement is produced. Clay figures or puppets with movable joints are often used in stop motion animation. Honestly, from my point of view, I think in Malaysia, uh, they do have several companies in Malaysia that do stop motion, but it's not being highlighted a lot. If you compare to companies outside Malaysia, they really use stop motion for certain films and also for certain series. But for your information, stop motion really tests out your patience. It's time consuming and it requires a lot of dedication and concentration level to ensure you're able to produce that smoothness of your animation through stop motion. And people who wants to be part of this stop motion industry, they really need to understand clearly on the 12 principles of animation. 12 principles of animation actually is important to every type of animation, but dealing with stop motion as which engage yourself with hands-on of the clay and also the puppet, and you have to transition and convert your understanding about animation from your brain into the clay puppet so that you can create that realistic and attractive movement. So the audience were able to enjoy the film of stop motion. So stop motion is honestly it's not easy, but with a lot of patience, concentration level, and also your passion, I believe you can go further with stop motion, right? And then last but not least, we have the famous one, which is motion graphics. So adding movements to specific graphical elements, it also defines as shapes, objects, and text can effectively be set in motion to create powerful visual display. Mostly used in development of video titles, logo graphics, social media applications, and digital marketing strategies. So motion graphic, I believe it has been used, um, like I said, it can be is used almost every day, and almost every company use it as part of their digital marketing strategy. A lot of advertising companies, they use motion graphics as part of the digital strategy, digital marketing strategy to promote products or services on social media and other social platforms. And using motion graphic is the quickest way to make it happen. I believe there are many softwares out there that can do motion graphics. So motion graphic, it has been utilized and implemented in many areas, right? For example, like if you see the Netflix logo, so if you have a Netflix at home or on your TV or on your computer, the moment you click the Netflix application and you see this intro, that was made by motion graphic. And also, if you watch any films out there on the cinema, and you notice and recognize that the opening intro of a film, it also shows some motion graphic as well. And of course, they mix around with 3D animation or 3D modeling, stuff like that. But having motion graphic is part of the process of adding that title, the film. And of course, it says logo graphics. Yes, eventually you will see many motion graphics that, like for example, like you open Google and then so you go to the website and you just type Google, and then you notice the logo of the Google has some small movement to it. So that's what you call motion graphic as well. And of course, motion graphic has been utilized in various areas, including smartphone as well. Smartphone also use motion graphic. And of course, that one I will explain later, but right now, motion graphic is quite popular nowadays, and it is considered as one of the best visual communication tool in the industry. All right, so now this is just a short summary brief of the history of animation before we go to the relevancy of animation in the industry. Now we know what's the meaning of animation. Now we know what are the types of animation and how each type is significant to the animation industry. And now we just need to know a little bit, just some educational knowledge about the history of animation. So from here, we can see that the Enchanted drawing by J. Stewart Blackton in 1900, it was considered as the very first animated sequence captured on standard picture film using live action actor, props, and also stop motion techniques. Another one, Phantasmagory by Emily Koch, 1908, was the very first uh, traditional animation technique, meaning he was the first person using traditional animation technique for a film. And then after that, we have the Gertie the Dinosaur, which was produced by Winsor McKay. Gertie the Dinosaur was considered as the first animated film using keyframe, in-betweeners, and animation loops. I'm going to show you guys how they look like later on. Don't worry. And also we have the Steamboat Willie by Disney in 1928, where it was considered as the very first animated film with music score and sound effects. So if I go to the first one here, the Enchanted drawing. So if you notice on the GIF here, right? So the person here is a comedian, right? So he is known as the live action actor. And if you notice, he was drawing a glass of wine and a bottle of wine. And then suddenly he took it out and becomes an actual glass and actual bottle of wine. And the moment he took out the glass and the bottle of wine, you can see the expression of the old man on the paper. You see, he was surprised. See, the old man was surprised because the comedian took the glass and the bottle from the paper. So from here, this is not animation actually, but it's called stop motion, all right? But the animation there is, we can see animation is still there. If the you can see the animation at the expression of the person. So the person having a normal expression and suddenly he felt surprised. So that's a little bit of the animation part of for this outcome, all right? And then the next one here is Phantasmagorie by Emily Coe, known as the first person who used traditional drawing for animation. So you see here, he was the first person to produce this. There was no music, there was no sound effects, everything just purely hand drawn, right? Using stick figures, just lines and and I think this the story here is quite rushed because everything is done in a really short amount of time. But you can say that he was the first person who created or used traditional drawing for animation. And then after that, Gertie the Dinosaur by Winston McKay in 1914. So this is where animation started to revolutionize, meaning that back in the old days where they all think animation is starting from one point to another point, right? But but eventually to make a really good and smooth animation, you must have like an in-between. Dekat tengah ni, you must have some in-between drawings to make sure your movement is really smooth. So that's why you see in the picture here, the GIF, the dinosaur here, you can see the neck and the head of the dinosaur is moving in a curvy way, in an arc way. This is part of the 12 principles of animation. So if you notice that rather than the starting point of the neck of the dinosaur, let's say you start from the right, and then the ending is at the left, all right? So if there's no in between movement of the neck, it will become like a static movement, macam robot. So the movement will be stiff, solid, and doesn't look really appealing. So having the in between, which is the in the middle of the starting and the ending point, when you have the in between, that's when the movement becomes smoother, right? So when you have the in between, of course, it requires a lot of energy and time to add more drawings, but the outcome becomes smooth. So this is what Winston McKay had accomplished. You see the movement of the dinosaur moving the neck from left to right, and also the leg as well. They, they all have some in-betweeners. So that's when the movement of the animation becomes really smooth and feels quite appealing. But of course, there's no music during this time, and there's no purpose. But basically, it's more on showing the smoothness of the creature, the dinosaur. And once this technique has been transferred, or many artists get to know about this technique, this is where Disney decided to make it like a film. Steamboat Willie, or we call it as Mickey Mouse, 1928. It was the very first animated film by Disney that used the in-betweeners and have some colors, have some environment, and have some music and music background and sound effects. So everything becomes complete. So that's when animation, traditional animation, uh, started to kick off, right? So when Disney able to produce such an entertaining show like this, that's when a lot of artists out there and companies out there try to do the same thing and make their own films. So there is a revolution, or sorry, not revolution, there is the evolution of how animation begin. starting from stop motion, and then have like a first person using traditional animation, and you have an in between, and lastly with the company called Disney that combined together with the music background, sound effect, and so on. Okay, so now this is where how relevant or why animation is used in the industry. So of course, the most basic understanding of using animation is because it helps deepen visual understanding better compared to traditional diagrams. So if you have a textbook that has a full page of information, and then you have a video that is 10 seconds, 10-second video, but it has attractive animation movement and it has all the description in that video, eventually, for myself, I understand even better by watching the animation video compared to reading a whole textbook. So this is another alternative way why animation is really relevant in the learning process. Animation also helps to communicate ideas quickly and sharply. That is correct. It is a cost-saving communication strategy. This is true as well, because if you want to compare hiring an actor or social media influencer, it requires a lot of money, right? But having, let's say yourself creating your own animation at home using a free software for your own company or your own product services. So there's not much money you have to come up with. So this is the good thing of having animation. It is cost saving. So I believe during the pandemic time, during the COVID-19 pandemic time, where many companies want to advertise their products and services, but because they cannot invite artists or local celebrities to come over and do shooting or photography sessions, so they have to use an alternative way, which is animation. And animation, they use motion graphic as another way to promote the products and services, not just on TV, but also on social media as well. Animation also educates and engages the audience through entertainment. That is correct. We learn and doing watching our favorite cartoon or any kind of show that relates to animation. It gives us some moral values or some message that help us to learn along the way. Animation also enhances creativity, makes learning faster and interesting, and motivates students to want to learn. And then it also has the ability to transfer emotions efficiently, and of course is considered as the one of the most powerful creative tool. And last but not least, is suitable for digital strategy and marketing in promoting materials. So these are the relevance of why animation is really important um, in the industry. But of course, animation is not just about making cartoons. It's more than that. Animation is not just about learning. It's not about education. It's not just about in the gaming industry. It's not just about watching your favorite show on TV or social media. No, it's more than that. So this is where the usage of animation is relevant in other kind of industry, not just in Malaysia, but worldwide. So how big is the animation industry? So if I believe everyone have noticed and recognized that animation is booming, is demanding nowadays. A lot of companies out there, I'm not saying desperate, but they are looking for people who can do animation that can help to promote their products and services for the benefit of their economical status. So when you have these companies that really looking for people coming from multimedia field or coming from the animation field, so having this advantage skill will benefit the company itself. So in Malaysia, the $7 million in the year 2016. And now it is is growing. 391 billion dollars. All right, so this is according to the Statista animation industry website, and it is forecast that it will grow by almost 60% within the following years, with continuous expansion across multiple media. So multimedia, it means that the animation technique has been used in many areas. It has been mixed around. It has been implemented for specific purpose. So the usage of animation is so dominant. It has been expanded. It has been transitioned itself to many fields, which many companies out there definitely use animation for their own benefit. And the benefit of using animation in manufacturing medicine because of technology sector. That is totally true. So and also that can help you to produce the animation you desire. So we can see here the animation market, not just in Malaysia but in worldwide, it is every year, and this is when animation is so important to uh, various kinds of industries, right? So of course, okay, so for the animation industry, we have a lot of areas here. We have in multimedia, we have educational learning, also relevant in game design, animation also relevant in the augmented reality, virtual reality, mobile software operating system, user interface design, mass communication, architecture, science, medical, engineering, geography, and more. There's a lot. Animation is not just about making cartoons, but it is spread in many areas, and that's the good thing of using animation, right? But in the end, it's how you produce it. So by having a good creativity, by understanding the 12 principles of animation, and also the purpose of what you're trying to deal with the animation and the software that you're using. Once you have all of these criteria, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to narrow down your expertise and choose the best industry you prefer the most. All right. So of course, the most basic one is in the multimedia. Animation multimedia is commonly is a common standard nowadays. Uh, People like us who are social media users, whenever we scroll down on IG, Instagram, Facebook, or
Sorry, Mr. Abid, we can't really hear you. I think your connection is unstable.
advertisements. They are in a form of hello.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
Not sure what's wrong. I think it's raining, is it? That's why the connection is very bad.
I think
It
from
shows
my
that
end it's
you
really cloudy,
okay, because your connection right now is
so it
quite
seems
unstable.
yeah. So you want me to continue? Can you hear my
Yes,
voice
please.
now?
Yes, now we
Okay.
can hear your voice.
All right.
Thank you. Please continue, yeah.
Sure, no problem. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So continue from the unpredictable, unseen issue just then. Now let's focus on the educational learning. This is another factor where animation has been used for educational purpose. I believe there are certain private schools and public schools as well. They use animation for learning purpose. I believe certain teachers they try to take this advantage to ensure students learn effectively based on the, let's say, subjects that they don't like the most. For example, like I think nowadays, based on my assumption, I can think that students are not a big fan of mathematics, or probably science, for example. So in the end, teachers tend to take the ability to use animation and convert those scientific information into an animation way. And when students, especially kids, see the animation happening on a big screen, that's when they learn efficiently. And of course, there are many studies in the past that already claim and prove that animation, the usage of animation is really effective compared to traditional learning. But of course, there's a drawback, which is animation requires creativity, also requires a lot of time, and also need some money to have a really good PC, really good computer, and also your knowledge in converting the ideas into animation. So that's a drawback of using animation in schools. But of course, the outcome of using animation, especially in the educational area, is really significant. So it's really significant and efficient for learning purpose. Okay, next one here. Of course, this is quite common, animation and game design. So people who like to play games during their free time, especially for people who like to play games on the smartphone, I think nowadays games has been evolving in many areas, right? So people who play games using game consoles such as Nintendo or Xbox or PlayStation, right? All of that use animation for the sake of entertainment and gaming design. And not to forget, even the very old classic Super Mario game that we played back in the old days in the 1990s. Now we use Game Boy to play games, to play Super Mario, for example. This is using a 2D animation, flat 2D animation, but it because it gives us the capability to control the character, and we had a lot of fun playing with it, and it has a lot of stages, it has a lot of obstacles, it has a lot of superpowers for us to go to the next stage. And this is what makes the gaming industry so popular and so relevant nowadays. And everything because the benefit of using animation. And another one here, nowadays, augmented reality also being utilized in many countries. Um, and of course, in Malaysia, we do have a lot of people use this for exhibition, for galleries, and also for one of the favorite application, which is Pokemon Go. You know, you can just simply download Pokemon Go on your phone, and you can turn on the AR icon where you can simply see your favorite character in a real life environment on your phone. So this is another way of using augmented reality for entertainment purpose. Similar to the one you see at the left side, where the person is using iPad to scan the to scan the display of a skeleton, and then when he used the iPad and some basic animations popping out. So this is another way of using animation in augmented reality. And of course, augmented reality is not just about this area, but it's expanded in other areas as well. Okay, all right. And then we have, next one, of course, virtual reality. So virtual reality here is of course popular as well. In Malaysia, we do have virtual reality aspects, and people who play games as well. They can buy the PlayStation VR, where you can see at the right side, this the person is using the PlayStation goggles, right? That specifically can play virtual reality games, right? And you can see how it connects his body movement with the TV itself. And then the left side, you can see the person using the entire setup of the entire hardware to and the equipment for him to enjoy and play that real life experience of the game using a bow and arrow, and at the same time having that virtual reality device on his is playing in the screen. All the movement you see there is also part of animation. Okay, right? Okay, so next one is animation in mobile operating system, OS. So this one here is another way to show that, this one here, we've been using it for a very, very long time. So for us, like we have been dealing with smartphones every single day, you can see how important it is using animation in mobile devices. So wherever you see using your phone, no matter what phone you're using, Samsung, Android, and also iPhone, for example, all of this you see here, um, the movement of the icons, the graphical elements that you see, that's what you call animation, right? So animation also being utilized in mobile operating system. And then another one here, animation and the applications out there that use animation to give that um, entertainment look of the entire layout. So this is another way to show how important animation is in this user interface design industry. Definitely, there are certain websites that you see and recognize that whenever you scroll down or you click part of the icon in the website, it shows some movement, it shows some animation movement along the way. So this is one thing that you can see that animation is quite relevant in web design application. And of course, mass communication as well. Whenever we watch TV or we watch news on TV, for example, you see these people, you see at the left side, the GIF at the left side, the person, the people introducing themselves, Clark Gibson and Diane Wheeler. So you see the name coming out from the left and the right side. So that's what you call animation as well. And another one here, it says breaking news, and you also see the text are moving um, from 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 right to left at the bottom. That's part of the motion graphic, also to be used in mass communication as well. And of course, it is expanded in other areas. And then we have animation in architecture. This is also quite popular now. Nowadays, a lot of house properties that we can see in Malaysia building up dramatically. And of course, the company or the developer requires some 3D architecture to see how to see how their desired house buildings will look like. So having a 3D model will benefit them to see how the buildings and the buildings would look like for their properties. So this is another way to use animation in the architecture industry. And then animation in science and medical, they're also being used as well. So I believe there are other companies who, let's say like a third party company, where they receive projects from the health department or from the Ministry of Health, for example, seeking help for those production houses to produce this kind of animation for knowledge awareness of certain disease or certain illness, or or getting to know how the body anatomy works in a 3D dimensional way. So having this animation and showing how everything works in our body system also express how relevant it is animation in the science and medical industry. And then animation in engineering or automation or automotive, right? This is another good example of using animation so that engineers can see and look how they look like, or how the machine work, or how the machine functions. So even though they are not real, they're all in 3D, but this will give a clear idea of how engineers would imagine and think of to improve or to amend to make it more better. And last but not least, the one I want to share is animation in geography. So people also use animation to show that, to show how nature works, or to show how the weather works, not just the entire planet, but also in certain countries, in certain areas in our country or other countries as well, to give that visual idea on how the nature or the weather happen based on the animation they have created. So you see at the left side of the slide, it shows how the wind move according to the planet Earth, right? And the right side here, it shows how the tsunami happened using 2D animation. So using 2D animation will give the audience and the viewers a clear understanding how tsunami happened based on the animation it was created, right? And then one thing that I want to let everyone know is that animation is not the art of drawing, but is the art of movement that are drawn. So meaning that animation is basically what you have drawn is not important, but it's the movement that is really important. That is when animation comes in. So how relevant, how important animation is, it's not about how beautiful you're drawing, but how they move. So when you see them in motion and it entertains the audience, that's when animation becomes the dominant factor to give that pleasing and attractive experience and expression for the audience to enjoy the entire outcome. Right. So I think that's it. Thank you so much to the organizer, and also thank you so much to Ms. Cheza for inviting me. And I think this is the end of my slide. I would like to accept any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abid.
Thank you.
Yes, we would like to take some questions now.
And sorry for the technical issue.
It's okay. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
It's all right. But you
Okay.
were with us, so you came back in. It's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can we take some questions now?
Yeah. I think I have to look at the Google chat. Sorry, the chat box, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we have checked in our Facebook as well at the moment. No questions.
Okay.
So they were very clear of your sharing.
Okay. No problem. How about I think they got chat here, right? This one is
This one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says animation is not only for kids. Thank you for the info and answer the myth of animation is only for kids. Yeah, I think this is it happens. I receive a lot of questions from my students. They all think animation is only for kids, for children, but no. Even myself, I'm an older person. I do watch cartoon, and it kind of reduce the stress of working and enjoy my free time, and also animation is more than that. Even the famous Transformer movie, or the famous let's say the Marvel movies now, which is the Black Panther, which was introduced a few months ago. They all come from animation. So animation is not just for kids. It's for everyone. And animation is also playing games as well. The games that you play on your phone. And let's say you like to play Candy Crush, for example. Ms. Sheza, I assume you play Candy Crush, contoh lah. So the movement that you play many years back, yeah. And Flappy Bird, for example. And also the snake game that we play on Nokia, they're all animation, anything that you see a visual or icon that has some motion, that's animation. So sometimes it's very hard to, parents, they all assume that animation is all the cartoon shows that they watch on the Saturday morning, right? But it's not Saturday morning, it's everyday morning. So this is where animation is, is relevant. Including myself, because my background is animation since diploma until now, and of course I get to know how important it is, animation is, and as you can see, animation is really significant in many areas, like the medical, the science, the geographical knowledge, and also engineering as well, automation, and also for commercial purpose, advertising purpose. So there are a lot of ways of using animation. Okay, any more questions?
Looks like we don't have any more questions, but I
Okay.
agree with you. Even on our phone now in the morning, you wake up, you look at all those stickers that people send you saying good morning. Those are also animation.
All right, yeah, the emojis, right? The
Yeah.
emojis, even the filters that we use on IG, the IG story. We see this really fancy, like a text animation, right? Text animation as well. So animation is like almost literally everywhere. So yeah. So in the future, if you have a kid that wants to go for animation, jangan halang, biar je. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I'll keep that in mind.
Right.
Okay, for now, since there are no
No,
questions
can
yet, can
take
we
a
ask
group
the
photo.
participants to turn on their camera? Yes, for the group photo.
Okay.
Okay, see. Everyone ready? Okay. My count. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, can we get another one? Freestyle?
Okay. We start.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And I hope everyone have a wonderful weekend. And thank you, Shazar, and to the organizer for inviting me. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Abid.
All
That,
right.
that was
Thank you.
surely an interesting and insightful webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next, participants, please do join us for the next webinar. That is the art and science of remembering. So, Mr. Abid, you can also join us later, yeah? Okay, thank you, everyone.
Sure, no
Stay
problem.
safe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.